So today we have 10 loud and strong fragrances that will turn heads everywhere you go. So all of these here have something in common where they seem to just punch through the air. They dominate whatever space they're in, right? They have a lot of punch behind them. They really do have some power, and they're fragrances that will not only perform good, push out strong, last a long time, but they also kind of cut through other scents, other fragrances in the air. At the end of the day, if you're in a situation where there are a lot of other people around and they're wearing fragrances, there's other smells in the air, it's going to be a competition. So if you can choose a fragrance that cuts through everything else, you're going to be set and the attention's going to be on you. We've got 10 fragrances here, one niche. Everything else is kind of a mix of cheapies to mid-range to higher end. There's fresh, there's sweet, as always, a nice, healthy mix of things. So you can find something that you're going to like. You will also find links to all these down below in the video description, so you can check them out and pick them up. The Fragrance Net 35% off link will be down there as well. Click that and they'll automatically apply the current code so you can save the most amount of money possible. That link is always in my videos. Make sure you hit that up. Let's get into this. So first up, we have No Limits by Philippe Plein. If you just want to go to the absolute max, you don't want to hold back at all, you don't care about being a little bit offensive perhaps, or maybe on the daring side, this is going to be for you. If it's not apparent by just the marketing and the design of the bottle, this one does not hold back. It does not care what anyone has to say about it. Leather, dark chocolate, vanilla, woods. This is really, really good. Now, it's easy to look at a bottle like this and just write it off because it looks like a gimmick. It just doesn't look like anything that would amount to much. But when you smell this one, you're hit with a whole bunch of sexiness, from that chocolate to that leather, that sweet vanilla, the nice masculine woods in here. This has a whole lot to offer. There's so much going on, a whole lot of depth. This fragrance is amazing. Of course, this one has a mastermind perfumer behind it, Alberto Marias. Don't pay too much attention to the presentation. Focus on the note breakdown, and more importantly, focus on smelling it when you pick this one up, because you have to. If you're into leather, something rich, something daring, something that's very sexy, kind of has a bad boy appeal to it, you know, something that's a bit more daring, you got to get your hands on this one. Check it out. Next up, we have a fragrance from the brand of Roberto Cavalli. This one is Uomo. Violet, honey, tonka bean, and saffron. So it's an interesting note breakdown. You know, there's something different about this one too that I really like. It's not your typical everyday run-of-the-mill designer fragrance. It's kind of like the one we just talked about a second ago. The easiest way to break this one down is you have the violet giving off a fresh balance, which does come in handy because you get a lot of sweetness from the honey and the tonka bean. Two notes that are definitely on the sweeter side. Now, there are different types of tonka bean out there. It does kind of come across more sweet, more rich here. The honey giving it the syrupy sweetness. So there's a lot going on that, you know, does give a whole bunch of depth behind it and some complexity and some punch. But that violet mixing with everything else really gives it a unique appeal. You know, this is something that you wouldn't smell every day. This is something that doesn't smell like every other fragrance out there on the market. It is different. This is one that's going to cut through the air. It's going to have good performance. It's definitely going to turn heads. And because it's unique, it's also going to have that kind of intriguing factor where if someone smells this on you, they catch a whiff, they kind of look, they're trying to figure it out. You know, they're trying to think in their head, okay, should I approach him? Should I ask him what that is? A lot of times that curiosity will kind of, you know, overcome that, and they'll end up coming up to you and you'll get a lot of compliments from this one. Up next, we have a classic, one that is it's just guaranteed to work anymore. That's why it's still so popular. It's Armani Code Profumo. Amber, tonka bean, and leather. You've heard that note breakdown before. It's what it's all about. Another one that's very sweet. It kind of is known to have this root beer accord or smell to it. A little bit of a fizzy cola smell, and I do get that to some extent here, although not as much as I think some make it out to be, for me anyway. Maybe some get more of a root beer smell, but for me it's a little bit of a fizziness, but also just a whole bunch of sweetness. Nice masculine leather, although it's not too strong. Really, it's that amber tonka bean sweetness. This is smooth, this is inviting, but at the same time, It is strong and loud, and it does not hold back. It's also more on the playful side here, probably going to be appealing more to younger guys versus older guys. It's not the most mature thing. It's not necessarily what we're going for here. There maybe are a couple fragrances in here that lean that way, but primarily we do have stuff that is playful, loud, fun, and just attention grabbing. If you want to turn heads, if you want to get noticed, this one has already been tested and it's known to work, so this is a super easy way to go. We'll go ahead and knock out that niche fragrance from Parfums de Marly. I feel like they always end up in my lists because they have some great stuff. This one is Percival. Musk, orange, ambroxan, lavender. There's some other citrus. There's probably bergamot. But this is just, man, that's nice. It's been a while since I've smelled it, but you know, it has this muskiness. And I've always said this, but this is a very musk forward scent. It's a masculine musk, you know, kind of like the thing used in Abercrombie & Fitch Fierce, that sort of thing. It's musky, but also kind of cooling and almost slightly ozonic in a way. That's kind of how it comes across. You get some citrus balance, which gives it kind of a bright pop when you first spray it on. The ambroxan gives it a little bit of a sparkle. It's not like a super unique scent, so some of the other stuff in here maybe is a bit more attention grabbing in that aspect. This one is more so just so clean, so refreshing, so refined. It's a fragrance that is hard to dislike. And this type of fragrance also has a fit in this type of video. It smells great, you know. It's also one that just has this modern, young freshness about it. That's not to say that if you're older, you can't wear it, because that's not true. If you like how this smells, same with anything in here, you can wear it. But I do think that this does appeal to, you know, the mid upper 20s and below, just kind of the more modern trend of fragrance here. It's not something that's more classic and refined, that sort of thing. Is it Parfums de Marly's take on a blue fragrance? It could be. You know, this and Sedley are both really good, but it doesn't really smell like Sauvage or any of the main blue fragrances. It just has a whole bunch of musk and citrus. I think it smells great, and it is a big time compliment giver. Up next, we have a cheapie, I believe $20, $20.25, somewhere around in there, from the car brand of Jaguar. This one is Excellence. So with a name like that, you expect it to be good, and I have to say, this one has exceeded my expectations big time. Vanilla, tonka bean, amber, and iris. So I was not hesitant because it wasn't that expensive, but I was a little bit cautious. I didn't get my hopes up, we'll just say that. When I blind bought this one, I'm like, okay, $20 range, a fragrance that is attempting to have some depth behind it. A lot of times you get something that either sucks big time or something that is solid. And in this case, it's the latter. That vanilla tonka bean mixture comes together great here. It's sweet, it's a little bit syrupy, it has this slightly kind of bourbon vanilla smell. So it almost gives off a tiny bit of a booziness. The iris gives it a little bit of a semi-floral, chalky texture. It's impressive, especially at this price point. It's not niche quality. We're not shooting for that here. It also doesn't smell like any of the main iris fragrances either. So if you're looking at this thinking that maybe it's going to be a Valentino Uomo intense counterpart or something, it really isn't. But I can say this one is really nice. The performance is shockingly good. It's a head turner, it's a compliment getter, it cuts through the air. This is a nice cheapie. Up next, we have another one that's in the more affordable range. Typically, I think you see this one around $40, $45, depending on if you get a tester, that sort of thing. From Azzaro, this one is Wanted. Just the plain old original Wanted. Lemon, tonka bean, apple, and ginger. Really, it's all about that lemon though. It's strong. It is very forward. It's a fragrance that, for me, it doesn't get me excited. I don't get hyped up when I smell this one. It's actually not one of my favorites. I much prefer Wanted by Night. However, when it comes down to it, you know, I was looking at this video, I was thinking, okay, what do I want to put in here? And I remembered when I first got this years ago, this is not my original bottle, ended up selling it, swapping it, but when it first came out, I got it, and I remember thinking like, wow, this is like ridiculously strong. You spray this one on your skin and it is there, and it's not coming off unless you scrub it off. This stuff has massive performance. And so when I was thinking about it, I'm like, you know what, this would be a really good contender for this video. Definitely younger crowd, has a little bit of an Invictus smell, although it's much more lemon forward, that sort of thing. Not one that will excite the enthusiast, but if you're not really after that, if you're just after something with massive performance at a low price, big head turner, huge compliment getter, just the original Azzaro Wanted, it really does do a great job. It's easy for me to kind of give this one a hard time, but at the end of the day, when you're using it for its intended purpose here, it crushes it. This next one, we have Ombre Leather by Tom Ford, going in the opposite direction in terms of price point here. This one's definitely going to be of higher quality than a good amount of the other fragrances in this list. You know, it's a Tom Ford. And no, I'm not just saying that because it's more expensive. Once you are around a bunch of different fragrances at varying price points, you're able to start to pick out on these different nuances that are prevalent in these different budget fragrances. And you can tell here with Ombre Leather, with a lot of Tom Fords, that there is a lot of time, thought, effort, and budget that goes into the quality and the blend and just the creation of these. So there's not a whole lot of notes. It has leather. It's got like an jasmine, I believe, some sort of floral. That's a fresh balance here. In Ombre Leather 16 private blend, it uses a violet leaf. And the Parfum, they bring that back. But for this one, it's a jasmine floral. It's giving it a freshness, like I mentioned, but really it's all about the leather here. It's not a super challenging leather, like maybe Tuscan leather, or even to some extent like No Limits. That one, it's got more of a texture, more of a bite, more of a roughness to it. This one's more of a smooth, kind of creamy leather, but it is still, after all, a leather fragrance, so something you have to keep in mind. If you're not into that note, you're not going to like it. I think it's great. Love Ombre Leather. I do like this because it is more affordable than the private blend. Still not cheap, but more affordable. This one can be picked up on discounters. It's not overwhelmingly expensive. It is a great investment though, one that you will get a lot of use out of in the cooler months in general. One that I highly recommend. Big time head turner, great performer, great compliment getter, Ombre Leather. Starting to run down to the end, we do have just a good old-fashioned blue fragrance. I figured, yeah, I'll throw this one in just because I kind of felt like it, and I thought it was a great fit. This is Dior Sauvage Eau de Parfum. Bergamot, ambroxan, Sichuan pepper. I believe there's probably a sandalwood in here, I'm sure. This is Sauvage. We all know it. At this point, you could put any of them, really. You could. You could put the old-fashioned DDT, which I love, by the way. You could put the Parfum. You could put the newest Elixir. I feel like the Eau de Parfum is at a weird spot, right? It kind of is easy to overlook this one. And think about it. This can happen with a lot of other brands, too, that puts out just the typical EDT, EDP Parfum, and then something else, because this is not the first fragrance, right? So Sauvage EDT, that one's always going to be recognized because it is the first one. This is also not the latest or the newest fragrance either, right? Elixir is. That one is always going to have a lot of talk until they were to come out with something new again, which who knows if they're going to. So that kind of leaves the EDP and the Parfum in this weird spot. And I think especially the EDP, I don't see a whole lot about this one here. And I do think that it is a nice fragrance. It's a little bit more refined, a little bit more smooth than the EDT. Note breakdown pretty much stays the same, at least off the top of my head here. The three I listed off are definitely prevalent in the EDT, but again, it is a bit more well-rounded. Performance is also still really good, great longevity, great projection. This one dominates the space like nobody's business. I mean, there's a reason why Sauvage gets hated on, because a lot of dudes discover this stuff, they abuse it, they wear so many sprays, and it just gets ridiculous. So be careful with this one. Don't be that guy. If you're going to wear Sauvage, you can. You're still going to smell nice. You're still going to get compliments, but just don't overdo it, because then you're going to be one of them, and no one wants to be. Second to last fragrance, we have Burberry Element, or Mr. Burberry Element, I should say. Mineral notes, ambergris, juniper, almond. It's quite a unique scent. It utilizes these mineral notes, kind of like Acqua di Gio Profondo. So from that aspect, the mineral notes, they both share that. Although overall as scents, they are different here. This one has this slightly bubblegummy, modern blue sweetness, kind of like an Yves Saint Laurent Y Eau de Parfum type of smell, but it has the sea notes, the mineral notes type of thing going on. It's a nice little hybrid here. I think it smells really nice. You know, I do enjoy fragrances like this. I love Y Eau de Parfum. I love the new Parfum. So if you have something that kind of has that fresh but also sweetness, that nice balance there, it's something that I do like. Even though it's not the most exciting thing out there, for me, it's just fun and refreshing. This is a super fun, easy to wear scent. I think it's really nice, and also performance surprisingly good. This one is an eau de toilette. I don't know if they're gonna kind of spawn off of this one and have like an Element EDP and a parfum. I don't know if they're gonna do that. That would be cool. They're already set up for it here, but this one as it stands is really solid. Definitely a big compliment getter, a big head turner. It cuts through the summer air, the warm weather, really nice. And last up for this one, we have Man in Black by Bvlgari. Spices, rum, and tobacco are some of the key notes in this one. It's a spice bomb smelling scent, right? But a little bit more mature. Has a boozy touch, which Spice Bomb doesn't. That sort of thing. One that you can wear to an event in the evening. When it's cooler outside, you could do it in summer as well. It just kind of depends on what you're into. I think this is a great scent. The price is relatively affordable. It's not crazy. I don't think it's quite as much as Spice Bomb. At least I don't think it is. Spice Bomb, especially the Extreme, is a little bit over 100. I don't think the original Spice Bomb is quite that high, but it's still up there. So I think this Bvlgari, when in stock, when it is, you know, in abundance and not just going really low and they mark up the prices, it's one that can be had for a pretty competitive price. Very sexy, another one that has a whole bunch of power, packs a punch, it cuts through the air, and it'll get you noticed for sure. Alrighty guys, there you have it. That is 10 loud and strong fragrances to turn everybody's heads. These dominate the space, these cut through the air, these absolutely crush it. There's a little bit of everything for everyone here. Remember, these will all be linked down below as well. If you want to check any of these out or pick any of these up, hit those links down there along with the Fragrance Net 35% off link. Again, that automatically always auto-applies whatever the current 35% off code is. And also, if for whatever reason they bring back the 37% off code, that link will also automatically apply that as well. So no matter what, that gives you the bottom dollar price. Let me know down below what are some head-turning fragrances that you really like. That's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.